Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the 40/40 Vision podcast, the ultimate sports history pod where hindsight is 40/40. Before we get started, let's pay some bills and hear from our presenting sponsors. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 40/40 Vision podcast. I'm your host, Khaled Abdallah, and I'm joined today by an incredibly special guest, former Atlanta Falcons star, offensive lineman, and current Ring of Honor member, Todd McClure. How's everything going today, Todd?
Man, going great. I appreciate y'all having us on and look forward to it. It's always neat to do something different and with somebody in a different part of the country. So you guys are in Cali, we're in Louisiana. I'm ready, man.
For sure. So today's topic is your career, your journey to, from LSU to the Falcons to the Ring of Honor. So we're just going to talk about you and everything that you've been through in your career. So first of all, Congratulations on being inducted into the Ring of Honor. It's a huge honor, no pun intended. How did that feel? What was that day like for you?
Man, it was unbelievable. To go back that day made me think about the whole process, from when we were young and the way my parents raised us, and to get to that point going in the Ring of Honor of a professional sports franchise. It's you got to pinch yourself. It's pretty special, and there were a lot of people that were part of my journey along the way. This wasn't an accomplishment that was just me, all me. There was a team of people from family and friends and teammates that got me to that point, and it was just a special day.
And you've had quite the journey. So you grew up in Louisiana, you go to LSU. What was behind the decision to go to LSU, and were there some other schools that you considered possibly?
Grew up a LSU fan, Tigers fan. We'd go, just about every Saturday and watch the Tigers play. So I always said that, if LSU offered, that's where I was going to go. The other team that I loved was Notre Dame. At the time when I was growing up in the 80s, Notre Dame was on TV all the time, Tim Brown and those guys. And so Notre Dame never offered, LSU did, so they made that decision easy for me. I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. LSU was probably the biggest school, or not probably, they were the biggest school that offered. All the in-state schools offered, Southern Miss, Hawaii, but I wasn't going to Hawaii. I would have loved to, but
would have been nice, yeah.
So it was easy. My decision was easy. LSU offered. I committed there, and it was 4 years that were just unbelievable time in my life. Played in Tiger Stadium, and for LSU was great.
And you played with some legends there: Alan Faneca, Booger McFarland, Kevin Falk. I don't want to put you on the spot, but who did you learn the most from? During your time at LSU.
Yeah, absolutely. So those guys, Booger McFarland and Kevin, we all came in together. We were the same. Us three, we were in the same class. Alan was a year ahead of us. I had a couple guys that were older that kind of took me under their wing. A guy named Mark King, he was an offensive guard that was a senior at that time, and a guy named Ben Bordelon, that he has a successful shipbuilding business now down in South Louisiana. But those two guys were huge mentors. Another guy, Sean Wells, they took a young guy under their wing, taught me the ropes. I got in, I started lifting with the older guys as a freshman. And I didn't want to be embarrassed, So if they put 400 pounds on the bar, even if I couldn't do it, I was going to try, So those guys pushed me. They taught me the ropes and along the way. And then, like you mentioned, Alan Faneca, I got to play beside a guy that is in the Hall of Fame now. So everybody, he was a high draft pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers first round. And everybody was coming to watch him. So whenever they were coming to watch Allen on tape, I was a center playing next to him. So I owe him a lot for, scouts coming to look and say, well, who's this center?
For sure.
That's playing next to Faneca, because he made us all look good.
Yeah, I mean, he's an all-timer, Hall of Famer, like you said, Super Bowl champ, I believe, with the Steelers, maybe two-time Super Bowl champ.
Yeah.
So he's a big deal. If I read correctly, you played tight end in high school, and then you transitioned to offensive line. Did you transition to offensive line at LSU or in high school?
Well, I'll tell you, I played tight end and defensive end in high school. We were an athletic family, grew up playing basketball. Baseball was my first love. My daddy played college basketball. He was a college basketball coach. So we played them all. And when in high school, the spot I could help my team out most was at tight end and defensive end. Steve Ensminger, who has coached all over college football. He's coached, his last stint was at LSU with Joe Burrow. I'm sure you heard of that guy. But Steve and my dad were high school teammates. My dad was a little bit ahead of Steve. They were family friends, and Steve had told us at one point when I was young, he's like, if he wants an opportunity to play college football, he needs to move to center because, in high school I was adequate at tight end, but I didn't have college speed. I didn't have the motor to play defensive end, and Steve saw enough that, he knew my best path would be at center. So in high school, my junior year, I would start the game at center. I'd wear number 55. I'd get 2 series to try to get tape. And then after those 2 series, I would change jerseys, go to number 89, and then I played tight end and defensive end.
That's amazing. I mean, high school football is just the purest form of the sport where you got guys doing stuff like that, changing jersey numbers, playing both ways.
Absolutely.
That's a great story. So tell me about the draft process. I mean, you were great at LSU. I believe you were all conference a couple times. You guys had a good run during your time there. You end up being drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. Tell me about the draft process and what that was like, the preparation that went into that, and where you thought you were going to get drafted versus where you ended up, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely. So going into the draft, I was being told anywhere from 3rd to 5th round. I'm undersized. I'm 6'1". At the time coming out of the draft, I was probably 295. So I think that was the biggest thing that teams were scared of, an undersized guy. Can he play this position? So we go in and, lift weights. Me and Booger train together. A good buddy of ours, Kurt Hester, who's actually the strength coach at Tulane now. Kurt's been all over the country. One of the best strength and conditioning guys that I've ever been around. He is the best I've ever been around. At the time, he was at LSU, and then they let him go, and he had a personal training facility. So he had a bunch of guys that trained. Faneca was there. He came out the year before. But, he got us ready for the combine. So we went to the combine. My numbers weren't great. I mean, they were good. My bench press was, I would say, above average. So it comes to draft day, and I'm sitting there thinking, I could possibly go in day one. And you hear stories about people all the time. They have these high expectations, and it's a big letdown when you're thinking, all right, I'm going on this first day. They're going to call my name. You've told all these friends and families, come over. We're going to have food, get ready to hear my name called. And then it doesn't happen, so it's kind of a shock. And then we get some calls after day one. One of the teams that had called my agent was Detroit, San Francisco. Out there in the Bay Area, there was another team that had reached out. They would say, if you're still available at our pick, we'll probably take you in the 4th round. So the 4th round comes and goes. It doesn't materialize. And luckily in the 7th round, I get a call from an Atlanta area code. And it's Coach Dan Reeves telling me that I was being drafted to the Atlanta Falcons. And that was just an unbelievable weight off my shoulders and was the start of my journey in the NFL.
And your journey got off to a bit of a rocky start, right? So you missed your rookie year with injury, but clearly they thought highly enough of you to keep you around for, your second year and beyond. So what was that rookie year like, and rehabbing from your injury and all that? And how did you stay focused on your rehab and everything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the draft happens in March, I believe, or whenever the draft is. And right after, you report. So I reported to Atlanta. We started strength and conditioning, and then we had some mini camps and OTAs. You don't have pads on, but helmets, and you're out there kind of showing your skills a little bit. So I guess I was able to impress the coaches enough during those OTAs and mini camps that when I tore my ACL the second day of training camp, they put me on IR. They can either injury settle with you, give you a settlement, or they can put you on IR and bring you back the next year. Luckily, that's what they did. I thought when I tore my ACL, I was like, man, my career is over. I hadn't even started. Have I shown enough? And fortunately I did, and then, so we go through the rehab, get everything healed up and ready to go. And then halfway through my second year, I become the starting center at Atlanta, and the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible story. I mean, yeah, and obviously you showed them enough that they had the faith in you to keep you around despite the 7th round pick and the injury and all that. So you mentioned taking over in your second year. I believe at that time your quarterback was already, this guy named Michael Vick that some of us might be familiar with. So when did you know he was special? At what point? Was it day one?
I'll tell you, when I first started getting in some playing time, I want to say it was San Francisco. Chris Chandler was our starting quarterback at the time. And Mike's first time to come in a game, in a big-time role, Chris got knocked out. He got a concussion. So we're backed up in the end zone in the old in San Francisco's old state candlestick. Man, just still had the dirt cut out, the baseball game, just old school. Right. You see NFL films and the old dirt cutouts where they play in baseball and football. So we're backed up in the end zone, and they take Chris off. Mike comes in the huddle. We're sitting in the huddle during a TV timeout, and this dude takes his helmet off, and he reaches in his helmet and grabs a stick of chapstick, puts it on his lips, and me and Keenan Forney's right next to me, we look at each other, and he's like, dude, he just put on chapstick. It's his first time in the game. Like, he was just calm, Here we go. We about ready to play. And that game, you saw glimpses of what made Michael Vick great.
And you played with him for several years. It's probably hard for you to pick one moment that stood out. I mean, for me, it was when you guys went into Green Bay and beat the Packers. Yeah. But I don't want to steal your thunder on that. But tell me about that game. That was incredible. One of my childhood memories for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go into that game, and nobody gave us a chance. Green Bay had never been beaten in the playoffs, and so Brett Favre's still there, and just so much history and tradition, and Lambeau Field. Like I said, nobody gave us a shot. We go in, and Mike Vick was electric. We had Warwick Dunn, T.J. Duckett, Algie Crumpler. Those guys were just unbelievable out on the football field. And our running game with Warwick Dunn and T.J. Duckett and Mike Vick on the bootlegs was just unstoppable. And, there was points in that game. You see the video all the time. Mike scrambles to the left. Kabir Baha-Biamila, he's got him. It looks like it's going to be a 15-yard sack, a loss. Mike throws him to the side, scrambles around. I think he hits Algie Crumpler. But those were some of the theatrics that he did that night that allowed us to go beat Green Bay 27-7 in their home field. First time it ever been done in the history of the franchise.
And in speaking from maybe a more like technical perspective for the position and playing offensive line, what was it like, blocking for a guy like that was going to hold on to the ball a little bit longer and make guys miss and take off running? What was that like versus, dealing with maybe a more traditional quarterback back there?
Yeah, absolutely. It was with Mike. It was kind of a blessing and a curse. You never knew. You never knew where he was going to be in the pocket. But also, if we, you're going to get beat at times, and if you get beat, Mike had the ability to make guys miss, to Houdini spin and take off. And everybody saw the walk-off run that he had, 60, 70-yard run in Minnesota to win that game for us. He was just a special type of athlete that just got caught up in the wrong situations. But, great guy, great teammate. And I was happy that he was a teammate of mine for several years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and tell us about Mike Vick as a person. I think we all know about him as a player, incredible athlete, one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch of all time. But, in the locker room as a personality, what was he like with the rest of the guys, especially when he became that superstar talent?
Yeah, Mike was great. He was a great guy to hang out with. I think if you ask Mike now, he wishes he would have spent more time in the playbook. He didn't put the time in that he should have, and I think he would tell you that. But as far as hanging out, unbelievable dude. At one time, I had hair down to my shoulders, and Mike always had a guy come do his hair, and they kind of dared me one day to wear dreadlocks for a game. So I went to Mike's house, and he hooked me up with his stylist, man, and I had the cornrows. I had the best set of cornrows, went into the game. But that's the type of guy he was. You know, he took care of his linemen. Great guy, just got caught up in the wrong thing. And I'm sure if he could go back, everybody makes mistakes in life. He would do things differently.
Sure. I think that's always a sign of a good quarterback, is someone that takes care of their linemen. I'm sure he got you guys some, amazing gifts when he rushed for 1,000 yards and took care of you guys in different ways. So that's great to hear. So after the Mike Vick era ends, you have a couple, little bit of a quarterback shuffle, and then you guys draft Matt Ryan very early in the first round. What was your early impressions of Matt Ryan as a player and a person?
Yeah, Matt, just unbelievable guy. I knew early on we drafted him. I watched him at Boston College do some really good things, and then when we go to mini camps and OTAs, and the first time he steps in the huddle, you knew right away this guy knows what he's doing. He just had a confidence about him that everybody noticed. And he was a guy that studied the playbook. He was the first in the building, the last one to leave, that type of guy. Always knew where everybody was supposed to be on the field. I tell people all the time, just a true professional. And I personally think that one day he'll get that gold jacket and be in the Hall of Fame, because you look at his numbers. I know his last year wasn't what anybody expected in Indianapolis, but the numbers he's put up over his career and the type of football player he was, I think he deserves to be there.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue against that. I mean, given the numbers, the achievements, the MVP, the Super Bowl trip.
Yeah, I think if people knock that Matt's never won a Super Bowl, but you look at his quarterback rating and what he did in that Super Bowl, it wasn't because of his ability, and it's a team sport. But you look at the way he played in that game, they should have had a ring. And, I hear it all the time. We're down here in Saints country, and they talk about 28-3, and not having a ring and this and that. So, and myself and my wife Heidi were at that game, and we had two Patriots fans sitting in front of us. And I'm going to say we talked a little trash because they were obnoxious early. We got up 28-3 and we're like, man, this is it. We're going to win this thing. And the rest is history. It didn't happen.
Yeah, I was right there with you. I mean, I'm a Raiders fan, so definitely anti-Patriots.
I hear that. Go back to the Tuck rule, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I was wearing my Michael Vick jersey that day. I was feeling good. And then, of course, things turned in a very negative way. But I mean, yeah, Matt Ryan, I mean, you don't play for as long as he did, for as well as he did, without being a special player. And what was that transition like, going from, having a guy that's the most athletic dude on the field running around to a more traditional, upright style of quarterback in Matt Ryan?
It was definitely different. So, Bobby Petrino came in. He thought Mike Vick was going to be his quarterback, and then Mike gets in trouble. And then at the time we bring in Joey Harrington, Byron Leftwich. Those guys were the quarterbacks that year. And then between that and Matt Ryan, we had a guy that also played at a high level, Matt Schaub.
Yeah.
Matt was a really good player. A lot of the same skills that Matt Ryan had. And then, we traded him to the Texans, and he went and had a really good career there in Houston. And now he's back in Atlanta working with the quarterbacks. So we kind of had a slow transition from a quarterback that could run, that could get it to Matt. And the good thing about Matt Ryan, his rookie year, we had a really good running game. Michael Turner, who was with the Chargers, we were able to sign him in free agency. Bring in a guy named Tony Gonzalez, that wasn't a bad tight end. And then you have Julio and Roddy White. So he had a lot of pieces around him to help him ease into the NFL game, and had a really good rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, you've played with some incredible talents. I was going on your Football Reference page, looking at some of the teams that you were on. I honestly forgot that you played with Tony Gonzalez, one of the greatest tight ends of all time. But, I saw Roddy White, Julio Jones early on, Warwick Dunn, et cetera. What made these guys different? Besides from, God-given natural talent, what made these guys so special? And how did they produce so well on Sundays?
No, absolutely. You look at a guy like, I'll start with Warwick Dunn, and you see his story and his history and the type of person that he is. He always felt like he had to prove himself. Like me, he was a smaller guy, but he's done it over and over again. Went to Tampa, got drafted by Tampa, had a great career, but he was behind Mike Allstott. So he was kind of playing second fiddle. And then Atlanta gave him the opportunity to be the dude. And he came to Atlanta, and you watch some of Warwick Dunn's highlights, and it's just unreal. The guy, his shiftiness, he never took a hit. Nobody ever squared Warwick Dunn up. He was smaller, but he knew how to twist and turn his body to where he never took a lick, never took a hit on collision. But just a class act all the way around. And then a guy like Roddy White, who comes in, struggles early. The pro game was a bit of a punch in the face to him. He didn't know how to work. He didn't know how to put in the time. But Roddy was one that he didn't always practice hard. But when the lights came on and it was Sunday or it was Monday night, Roddy White was going to show up. Tremendous player, also in the Falcons Ring of Honor. And then you look at a specimen like Julio Jones. He comes in. When he was healthy, Julio was as good as anybody that's ever played the game. I've never seen a guy work like Julio worked. He was a practice guy. He was a game day guy. He was just a true professional. You never heard Julio's name mentioned negatively in the media with anything off the field. He was just a true pro. And then Tony Gonzalez, a guy like Tony Gonzalez, to see his pre-practice routine and what he's done for years and the amount of footballs that he catches before practice, after practice, there's a reason why, he's one of the best to ever play that position, and he was a great teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. All-time great, Hall of Famer, all that stuff. Julio definitely on his way to getting that gold jacket at some point. He's like the anti-diva receiver.
Absolutely.
He said,
yeah.
You never heard him say.
That just went out there and, you're right. He just, most of those guys, receivers, defensive backs, the DBs are probably the ones that talks the most trash and the most diva. You never heard Julio complain about not getting catches. You look at, right now Diggs, and you look at Jamar Chase, who's an LSU guy, but anytime they're not getting their touches, they're going to some kind of way talk about it in the media. You never heard that out of Julio. It didn't matter. I'm sure he was frustrated. He never showed it, never talked about it. Just went out there and did what he was supposed to do when he was healthy. Yeah.
He was never the guy that's going to say, give me the damn ball or whatever it was that Jamar Chase said this week.
That's right.
So you played for a long time. I believe it was 13 years. You were an Ironman. By my count, you played 144 straight games when I was doing my research. I think I'm right there. So, and then in your final year, I believe you also played 15 or 16 games. So ultimately, what went into your decision to retire? What was it that was kind of the last straw for you?
Yeah. So, I played 14 years. I know, on the internet, they got it wrong and everybody thinks it was 13 because I started in 1999. People forget to count 2000, so you go.
There you
go. So it happens all the time. But 14 years, I wanted to come back and play one more. We went to the NFC Championship game, played San Francisco, who went on to the Super Bowl that year. We got within 15 yards of the goal line to go to the Super Bowl. We had a special team. I wanted to come back for one more year. We had drafted a young center that year, my last year. They thought it was time for him to take the reins and really wanted to come back. Guys wanted me back. Matt, Tony, those guys went and kind of talked to the higher ups, but they decided they wanted to go with the younger guy. It didn't quite work out for them. But, no regrets. I look back, had a great career and was blessed to be in one city with one team my entire career.
Yeah, that's definitely rare. Was that part of your decision to perhaps not pursue another opportunity somewhere else with another team?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I got a few phone calls, and one of my old O-line coaches, Paul Boudreaux, who had gotten fired a year or two earlier, was in St. Louis at the time. Scott Wells was their center. Scott got hurt. He had called, and I want to say, Les Snead, who's the GM now with the Rams. He was in St. Louis at the time with the franchise. They were going to bring me in for a workout. Never happened. I probably could have pursued other opportunities. But at that moment, it was going to be, Atlanta or nobody. And my body's probably happy that I didn't go back and play one more.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard a few times from retired NFL players, like it's always better to retire a year early than a year late. And I'm sure your knees and your ankles and your hands and all that, they all thank you for taking that next step.
I mean, you look at everybody's watching everything Kelsey right now, but and I love it too. You look at him on that episode on Amazon and his decision, trying to decide, do I want to go back and play one more? He talked about how much his body hurt week in and week out. And that's a true fact. But, for him being in the Super Bowl, not winning a Super Bowl, it was worth putting his body through it another year to get the opportunity to go get a ring. And I respect the hell out of that.
And what did you do differently, when you're 29, 30 years old versus when you're 24, 25 to be able to play week in and week out? And as I mentioned, you played, I think, like I said, 144 games in a row. How did you change your preparation to be able to do that?
Everything kind of stayed the same for me. And guys used to be in awe a little bit because in the off season, I didn't go in the weight room. I didn't do anything other than we have property and we have a farm. I did manual labor, worked outside, building fences, baling hay. So that was my way of getting in shape. And I think it also allowed my joints and my body time to heal, whereas other guys were going to work out right away. It was just something that worked for me. I don't know if it worked for everybody, but it worked for me over my entire career. And I was also blessed and fortunate. You got to have a little bit of luck on your side. You got to be able to play through injuries. Everybody's going to be hurt. You're never going to be 100%. There were probably several times in my career where I don't know if I necessarily needed to be out there on the field, but found a way because I didn't want to let my teammates down to push through it, And, there's times on film, I'm sure you could look at games and be like, how's this guy to starting center? Because I wasn't 100%. There were things going on, but was able to go out there and push through it.
That's incredible. You had that country strength,
That's right.
country strong mentality, being able to fight through injury or being hurt. I mean, there's that famous saying, the coaches ask, like, are you hurt or you're injured?
Right.
If you're injured, you can't play. If you're hurt, buckle up, let's go.
That's right.
So I got a couple quick questions about, do some quick hitters about your career. What was your favorite away stadium to play at in your career?
Man, I love Seattle. Seattle was just different. Different environment. The weather was cool. The crowd noise was unbelievable, but Seattle Stadium just had a different feel to it. And I really had a couple opportunities to go play there. Really like Seattle. And I know you're over in the Bay Area. We came to, we played San Francisco. Well, that was when Michael Vick got in the game. San Francisco and Oakland in back-to-back weeks. And got to spend a week out. We stayed in California, really, and they flew our wives out. Really enjoyed our time there. Went to the wharf, and it was a really neat experience for us.
Very cool. What was your least favorite opponent?
New Orleans.
You could say team. New Orleans. Okay.
New Orleans. They're a hated rival. At the Saints and Falcons, it's like all in water. Don't mix. And it's tough for me being in Louisiana, growing up in Louisiana and going to play for the Falcons. But that's an easy answer. Don't like New Orleans.
Okay. Who's someone that, when you saw him pop up on your scouting report, you were like, I'm not looking forward to this? Because you played in the era with some real hitters out there. So who's somebody that you really did not enjoy playing against?
Chris Jenkins. He was the guy that I had to get prepared for the most. He was at Carolina. We played him twice a year. 6'6", 330, quick as a cat, and he can embarrass you in a heartbeat. So Chris Jenkins was a guy that I hated playing against.
Okay. I would have guessed Warren Sapp, but Chris Jenkins,
Warren, he talked so much trash, but Warren played the 3 technique. So Chris played the shade, or he played the nose.
Yeah.
I hit Warren from time to time. I wish I would have hit him a little bit more. But he was an unbelievable player, man. He talked trash the whole time. Leroy Glover was a guy that played in New Orleans that was really special. Kyle Williams, who was at Buffalo for a long time. I hated playing against guys like that. And the list goes on and on. There's so many guys inside that you had to be ready for.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some incredible names, Hall of Fame type names. So I don't blame you there. Let's see, favorite opponent, someone that you enjoyed playing against, maybe because of the, pre-snap conversation, whatever it might be.
Tampa, probably. During my time there, my buddy Booger McFarland, he was a nose guard. We lined up across from each other. We battled in college every day, so we always had some good talk. And then when Booger left and went to Indy, they had a guy named Chris Hovan. Chris was with Minnesota, signed with Tampa, and he was a smart guy that played the game the right way. And we both had a mutual respect for how each other prepared, and he knew what our offense was going to do. I knew what their defense was going to do. He was always fun to play against, and a tough guy to block also.
For sure. Would you rather play in the rain or the snow?
Oof. Give me the snow. Oh, hold on, the dog. I'm sorry, you might have to edit that out. The snow for sure. I hated being a center in rain games. You always had to worry about the ball being slick and getting a snap back there. I think I played twice in the snow, once in Philly, once in Green Bay. But Green Bay, it wasn't bad. Got a few snow flurries towards the end of the game. So I've never really played in a game where the field was covered with snow. So give me the snow over the rain.
Yeah, I played center in high school as well, so I'm familiar, at least with the general mechanics of it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you prefer under center or shotgun?
I'm old school, I guess. A little bit easier to me, guy being under center. When a shotgun snaps, you got to be precise, and you play in center. When you go to block back on a counter, that was always the toughest block in shotgun because you're moving one way really quick, and you had to make sure your snap was online. So I'd rather a quarterback under center. It was just a little bit easier.
For sure. Do you prefer college football or NFL football to watch?
Oh man, I can't pick that because I just enjoy the game, whether it's high school, college, or the pro game. Of course, I like the college game. It just has a different feel to it. It seems like stronger fan bases, but I just love football in general.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love college football for the pageantry, the rivalries. Right. I've always wanted to go to like a big time SEC game. Every time I'm watching, CBS on a Saturday afternoon, I tell my wife, I'm like, this is on my bucket list, like Florida, Georgia, or LSU, Ole Miss, like one of these big time.
You need to do it,
big time rivalries.
You definitely
one
need
of these days
it.
for sure. Final question: who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
Oh man, I think we could. Well, I don't know. Right now the first 3 teams that pop in my mind are, I'll give you 4: Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Philly. That's my 4 that just pop off right away. If I had to put everything, if you made me pick one, it's hard to bet against Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is fun to watch. I love when he comes on, if they can stay healthy. Pacheco, the running back, dude just runs at a different type of angry. He was kind of like, he runs, I think, even harder than Marshawn Lynch did. He's just fierce the way he runs. It's all going to come down to who stays healthy. And I think if Kansas City stays healthy with Chris Jones on that defensive line and what they do, Kansas City will probably win another one. San Francisco looks strong, though.
Mm-hmm. It's a safe bet to just pick Patrick Mahomes, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. At least you picked the best quarterback. So what have you been up to in retired life? You've been retired for a little bit of a while now. So what have you been up to?
It's a couple of things: coaching, kids, baseball, football. Helped out at the high school with football. I've got a wood business, 6M Antique Woods. We buy wood from all over the country, and we make flooring and wall material, beams, tables, different things like that. And then, I raise bucking bulls, rodeo bulls. I don't know if you're familiar with like the PBR. It's all about genetics. It's kind of like the racehorse business, the thoroughbred business. You breed and trying to get the right combinations together. That's one of my passions. I really love the animals and trying to make that perfect match. And now, starting this podcast, the Snapback with T-Mac, it was something that I've always wanted to do. I enjoyed talking football. I used to do the post-game show for LSU. So I'd go on with one of the local guys here, and we would talk about LSU. So this is something I just want to kind of get my stories out with old teammates. So we're going to give it a whirl. The Snapback with T-Mac, we're on all podcast platforms, on YouTube. Should have our first full episode, airing pretty quick, man. So I love it. Awesome. Love talking football.
Yeah, I believe I'm already subscribed to you on YouTube, but whatever else you got out there, I'll be sure to subscribe and follow and share and all that, and put a link in the podcast description and all that. So thank you so much. This was incredible. I could talk to you for hours, to be honest.
No, I'm with you, man. Hey, you were great, man. I enjoy, you could tell you got a lot of knowledge and you love the game. So we'll definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll do a season recap or something like that. See if your Final Four pick and your KC pick were on point. So,
well, hold on. Let me put you on a little pressure on you right now. So, who's your college team? We talked about your pro team being the Raiders. Who's your college team?
It's tough, man, because I grew up in the Bay Area, right? It's not a college football hotbed. I generally just kind of root for the Pac-12.
Gotcha.
Gun to my head, if I had to pick, it would be Cal. Just because I lived in the area, but in general, I still, like I said, I love college football. I love the game, so I just kind of root for the Pac-12 in general.
I got you. Now, who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl?
It's got to be KC.
There we go. Right.
I think last year their defense was okay. Right. This year it looks elite. It's they shut down Jacksonville, they shut down Detroit, and you pair that with Mahomes. I know he doesn't have as many weapons as he did in the past, but you just can't bet against that guy.
I agree with you. And you look this past week, they played the Jets, who the Jets defense is just unbelievable. You hate to see that. You're talking about Cal with Aaron Rodgers. That Jets team would have made a run. You see how special their defense is and what they did to Mahomes and those guys. So I'm with you. KC should win this thing.
Yeah, it hurts me to say that as a Raiders fan, but
I hear that.
It's reality.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
All right, let's do it again, man. Thank you. Nice meeting you.
You too.